Death, taxes, and the Bengals start off the season slowly. So Jamarr Chase said this recently on a radio show. And obviously, it's the most obvious take of all time. It's the most obvious statement of all time. But hey, listen. Chase, said his piece, and it's a problem that needs to be fixed sometime, meaning it needs to be fixed now. There's no sometime. I don't think we were ready to get into the season when we got into the season, if I'm being honest. But we locked in when it was time to. But it wasn't early enough. Yeah, I would say we didn't lock in really until like halfway through the season, which was really the biggest issue here. And obviously the biggest problem was you got to lock in before the end of the season. You got to lock in, week one and be ready to go week one. Now, this whole situation is obvious, right? We all know the Bengals start off the year very slow, and it's a huge problem for us. And again, I think if we start off this next season slow, Zach Taylor will be fired 100%. There's no way you can even make the argument that Zach Taylor should stay if we start off this next year 0-2. Now, it's very possible we start off versus teams like the Miami Dolphins, Detroit Lions, Jacksonville Jaguars. Talked about that in the SEP video. But there is no circumstance where we can't, we have to start off the year 2-0. Okay, I don't care what else happens throughout the whole season. We need next season to start off with a 2-0 record. And if it doesn't, Zach Taylor's fired. That's just how it is. Fire him week 3. Because this is a forever problem that, as Chase says, we try to lock in. We try to lock in eventually. But because we start off so slow, it's like we don't actually get going. We don't actually get to a point where we're in the correct direction until way too late in the season. And it gets to a point where you just lose. You're not going to be successful as a team if by week 15 you're actually now locking in and trying to fix things. Because last year, our biggest issue, week 1, if we would beat the Patriots, which obviously the refs cheated us with Gesicki not having a touchdown. But if we beat the Patriots, we're in the playoffs. If we beat the Chargers with our 2 missed field goals at the end of the game, we're in the playoffs. I mean, go down the list. We beat the Ravens 1 and 2 times. We're in the playoffs. And these are all winnable games, by the way. These are all very winnable games that we found a way to lose because we don't start off the season correctly. And I think it's more now looking into this. At first, it was like, oh, well, maybe we should play our starters in the preseason. Because that's a huge issue because we start off the season slow because our guys go from, hey, you're going to play in week 18. Next time you're going to play, week 1 of the season. You're not going to play in, the preseason. You're not going to get any snaps. I think the preseason is a huge factor. But I think it's also coaching. It's also getting our guys prepared and ready to go for week 1. Yes, it is also, of course, the idea of you need to get your guys out there. You need to actually get players out there playing in the preseason. It's also coaching. I feel like we kind of make everything a little slower paced. And that's been our biggest issue over the last couple of years. So we need to get going on all fronts. It's coaching. It's playing guys in the preseason. And again, we're not saying that you have to play, the starters every snap of the preseason. That would be ridiculous. What you do usually is the first game, you play your starters for the first quarter. The second game, they play for one half. The third game, you might not even play starters. That's usually what happens with the third game. They don't play starters, or if they do play starters, they might play 1 or 2 series, right? That's the mentality that a lot of teams go with when it comes to starters in the preseason. I know the Chiefs last year, they played Patrick Mahomes all 3 games in the preseason. They played him for the first game was a quarter, second game was a quarter, and the third game was a half. Which, Does Patrick Mahomes need preseason action? No, he doesn't. But the Chiefs know, hey, we don't want to start the season very slowly. We don't want to start the season at a disadvantage, so we're going to play those players. Obviously, Frank Pollock is gone, but the whole Jonah Williams situation is just the perfect definition of us starting off the season slow. Jonah Williams went from left tackle to right tackle. Never played right tackle in his life. Never played it at an NFL level in his life. He had to go up to Frank Pollock and ask Frank Pollock, hey, can I play like a snap or two in the preseason? Because the Bengals were not planning to start to start Jonah Williams or play him one single snap in the preseason. Imagine that. You're going from left tackle to right tackle. Never played right tackle in your career. And the Bengals are not in any way going to play you in the preseason. They're going to have your first snap at right tackle be against Myles Garrett week 1. Thankfully, Frank Pollock is gone. But what also made the decision was not just Frank Pollock, it was also higher up than Frank Pollock. And that's the issue we're in. That other part you didn't get rid of. The other part, you still got that problem. So again, there's a situation where we need to go higher than just, play the players. Yes, we need to play the players. But it's also, you need to go higher up and say, okay, not only do we need to play the players, we also need to fix the issue of, the coaching. Coaching is also a problem and an issue. So we got to go up higher and fix the higher up, not just the lower, but also the higher. So we'll see how this ends up working out. But again, like I said, I think now with the idea that Zach is going to be fired if we saw off 0-2, we're going to go 2-0. And then we're going to finish the season off, guys, 2-15. I'm just kidding. But we got to start off the season 2-0. We do. We got to start off going, I would say 3-0, but that might be a little bit too much to ask from Zach Taylor's offense in 2025. Peace out.